Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to wearefree.tv, the channel that brings you different people from around the world with alternative information to do with the fifth dimension, aliens, channeling, different injections that are being promoted all over the world, the different problematic issues to do with that, with various diseases that we're aware of that allegedly are killing millions of people, different aspects of different international headings from a more kind of alternative perspective and more spiritual, and anything to do with self-development and self-improvement and psychology and alternative science and alternative medicine, anything from physical situations to mental states that could be cured today with very interesting modalities. This is the place to come and update yourselves about all these amazing subjects. I'd like to thank all the people that have donated and keep donating. Helps us a lot. The information is up here if you're interested. Thank you very much. I'd like everyone to also please join our Telegram group, which is wearefree.tv in Telegram. If you join this group, then every time we publish a new interview, we basically post it there, and then you can stay updated. And if you don't have Telegram, you could just go to our website, wearefree.tv in Google, and then click on join us and add your mail, and then you'll get an email notification with every new English-speaking interview. Thank you very much. And also, please do share this interview wherever you possibly can, on Facebook, any other social media, TikTok, Instagram, send it by mail, WhatsApp, any other way, so that many people could be exposed to all this amazing information, which we are going to be bringing you today in this amazing interview. Today's interview is with a lady called Soma ARah, and she's the author of the Pleiadian Child that's available on Amazon. The name of the interview is Cosmic Awakening of Human ET. We're going to talk about experiences with Pleiadians, the Great Awakening, Atlantis reversal, and many more interesting subjects. So, hello there, Soma. How are you today?
Hi, Michael. I'm really well. I'm very looking forward to this. It's really great to connect in with you. I've often watched your videos and your interviews.
Excellent.
And I think it's great that you do them in both languages. That's really good.
Yeah, actually 3 languages. Hebrew, English, and Russian.
Okay, Russian as well.
Yep. Unbelievable. So, Soma, isn't that from a famous book, Soma?
Is it? I haven't heard of that. I'll have to check that out. I was
Strange
actually...
New World. It's something...
Oh, really?
Yeah. Huxley's book, where in the future people take this pill called Soma for some reason. Anyway, what does it mean then?
Well, I've heard of the book. I didn't know about the name. I'm going to have to check that out and actually read the book.
So what is Soma in our language?
Soma, I was actually meditating outside with a tree because I find it good for grounding, and I was doing that one day last year. I think it was around June, and I was closed my eyes and straight away, instantly, because I'd been meditating with a tree for a while, I was given the name Soma, and I was like, oh, okay, and I just was very peaceful, and I went with it. And when I came back upstairs, I Googled the meaning, and it's actually a sacred drink in India. It's like an elixir of a sacred herb and a drink. So, and then as I was Googling, I was given the name Arah by my guides, which I had to Google as well, because I didn't know what that meant either. But this is after asking for about at least 10 years for a spiritual name. So patience is a virtue.
Yeah. What does Arah mean? I know Ra means it's like an Egyptian god, isn't it?
Arah is to arise.
Okay.
Is to rise up, to awaken, to to accelerate, to move up.
Amazing.
To
ascend
ascend.
Into the fifth dimension.
I don't think I'm quite there yet.
Sorry?
I don't think I'm quite there yet. I haven't quite ascended.
I don't know anyone. I do not know anyone who's actually ascended. Probably Buddha or Jesus and a few others. But yeah, so let's start from the beginning. Can you please tell us about your childhood?
Okay. Well, that was quite traumatic.
I understand, yes.
To say the least. And I wouldn't change a thing, not a thing. Because on one hand, I had a very traumatic childhood. But then at the same time, on the other hand, it was through the traumatic experiences that I was having these spiritual experiences where I would leave my body. Some of the experiences, I was leaving my body. And I was also connecting spirit and seeing fairies and angels and connecting in with Pleiadians, and a lot of it I had forgotten. But going back to my childhood, it was very traumatic. I had a lot of poverty. I had an alcoholic mother. I was sexually abused on numerous occasions by numerous different men. Just seemed to find me. I must have had this energy around me where they just seemed to spot my energy. I probably vulnerability, you could say, in a more physical way. I had a vulnerability around me, about me. So I was abused a lot as a child and raped at the age of 13, became pregnant, lost the baby, thankfully. But I was, so I'll go back to one of my first experiences when I was 8. And I had a man laying on top of me, and I was a tiny little thing. I was underfed, undernourished. So I was a skinny little thing, no meat on me at all. And I had this huge guy lying on top of me who stunk of whiskey, and obviously an alcoholic, and very heavy. And I couldn't breathe. It was sucking the life force out of me. And I left my body and connected to the Pleiadians. And I'd always remembered the abuse, but I'd forgotten the leaving my body until a number of years later when I began doing shamanic courses in Ireland. And I began to have memories of those types of situations where I would leave my body.
Okay, so when you left your body, when you were 8, I mean, was that the first time you encountered the Pleiadians?
That's the first conscious memory I have. I'm sure there's others, because I have been told by one of my shamanic teachers that I was abused since I was in the cot. So I was abused basically from day one. And I was taken into care. I think I was around 2 or 3, and we were in South Africa. We were actually in Namibia. And I was taken into care, which I obviously don't remember because I was so young. Okay. But I'm sure there are memories that I haven't yet recovered or remembered. And hopefully someday I will. The memories will start to come back to me more and more.
But can you tell me about the encounter with the Pleiadians? You say that you were abused, and at the same time you kind of left your body, and then you were with the Pleiadians. What does that mean? You were flying with them? You were on their ship? You were on their planet?
Instantly, I was there. I left my body, and instantly they were there, from what I remember. And years later, I was shown that I've always had a connection to them, that I'm come from the Pleiadian star system, or I've had past lives on the Pleiadian star system, which many of us have. And I've no doubt that you have experienced that, you've had past lives as well with different star nations, because we all come from the outside in. We all come from somewhere else.
I was told I was from Sirius B.
Okay.
By many channelers told me that.
Okay. And does that resonate with you?
No. The thing is, I'm very... I mean, when I say no, I don't mean... I'm not saying that I'm not from Sirius B. It's just I interview so many channelers, and I know channelers personally. I mean, my girlfriend is a channel, amazing one. She doesn't talk about that much, but she channels my guides, okay? And it's amazing. Wow. I go to a therapist who's a doctor of psychology and a channeler, and she channels part of my psychological therapy is through them, through aliens or entities or whatever, and everything they say is extremely accurate. So I totally believe in the existence of them, but for some reason I'm unable to communicate with them. All I can communicate with is my thoughts. I've never actually had a channeling, you know, where like, you know, these downloads and where I start talking, you know, and someone else is talking through me. I've never had anything like that. All I have seems to me to be my own thoughts. So I just like complaining about it, but maybe I'm not meant to. Somebody said to me recently, because of that, you're so curious and you keep interviewing people and you keep digging deeper because you're unable to do it. And that's not in my contract, you know, during this lifetime, blah, blah, blah. Perhaps. Who knows? So the same is along the same lines or from the same place I'm coming from in terms of Sirius B. Maybe I'm from Sirius B, maybe I'm from Sirius C, maybe I'm from Andromeda. I have no idea. Yeah. So let's talk about the Pleiadians. I love the Pleiadians. I interview a channel in Israel and I talk to them directly. And I ask them questions that the audience ask me to ask them. And it's amazing. They're just so wonderful. They're so friendly. And, you know, they seem to want our benefit, you know, they want to help us and they want to help us ascend. And they're like, you know, like parents, you know, who want us to do it ourselves. And they're just looking after us. What can you tell me about the Pleiadians from your perspective?
One of the things is that they are, I mean, they've told me they are like our parents. And for me personally, they've said, and myself more than ever, because I didn't have that, I didn't have a good childhood. I didn't have good parents that were responsible and, you know, that they didn't take care of a child the way it should be. So with me, you know, they really reiterated that with me personally, they are like my parents. But generally speaking, they are our parents. You know, they created us in their own likeness, and they created Egypt and a lot of different sacred sites. And the information they have for us, you know, if we could just raise our vibration and have a little bit more of acceptance and understanding that we're not alone in the universe, that we've never been alone, that we don't come from here. And so much has been hidden from us. So much we've been lied to on a mass scale about our history, about our science, about our earth, about the universe, about the star system, about humanity, about DNA, about who we are, where we come from.
Okay. Can you clarify a few of these major points you just mentioned about being lied to?
Okay. Well, the Earth is one of the things. The Earth is a lot older than we are. Sorry, than we've been told. The Earth is a lot older than we've been told. There is a lot of history in Antarctica that's been hidden deliberately with the ice being covered. The ice being covered is actually part of the negative agenda, because there are objects or sacred sites beneath Antarctica where the ice has been covered over. There's a lot of our, kind of veering off the question here, but there's a lot of fairy tales, children's fairy tales that are a lot of truth in them, actually, and also science fiction. But going back to your question, Michael, we've been lied to on a mass scale about everything, about our history, about our science. Some of the one of the things would have been in my understanding, would have been that we came from apes. Well, we didn't come from apes.
Okay.
We didn't come from
Where
apes.
did we come
And
from?
science is now proving that. Well, I've been shown, and I do believe very strongly, that we were created by the Pleiadians and possibly other groups, and our DNA, and that's kind of going into the Atlantis reversal. I don't know if you want me to go into that now, but
You can. Why not?
Okay. So, because it kind of links in.
The Atlantis reversal. What's that?
So the Atlantis reversal, years ago when I began channeling them, they showed me that a large meteor or something hit the Earth. And at the time of Atlantis, it shook around the time of Atlantis, it shook the Earth off its natural axis, causing great catastrophic events and land masses to move and tsunamis, and that kind of ties in with Noah's Ark and things like that. And then negative ET energy came in and overtook Atlantis over a period of years, and our DNA was dumbed down, was manipulated, was changed by negative ET agendas or races who overthrew Atlantis or caused the overthrow of Atlantis. And because originally the Atlanteans had connection to divine source, to God, whatever you want to call it, and they had communication individually on a personal level with positive ET races like the Pleiadians and others. So we did have direct communication, all of us, and because of our DNA was manipulated, was changed, was dumbed down, we lost our ability to, because our vibration was lowered to a lower degree where we weren't able to communicate to higher beings or more intelligent beings or God or our higher selves or our guides. We lost the connection. So that was severed and our DNA was changed. So now with the time period, this also links into the time period, because the Earth is, if you take a coil and you stretch it, and then you let it go, it springs back to its original blueprint, its original DNA. And that is what's happening to humanity. And there's several aspects that link in. One is the time period with stars aligning and planets aligning and suns, moons and stars, and the universe is shifting back, not just the Earth, but the whole universe is shifting back to her original blueprint, her original DNA. And at the same time, our DNA is changing back to her original blueprint of what I've been shown is 13 strands, not 12, 13. So we're going through a huge change. We're on the precipice of a reawakening, and we're not even going back to the time of Atlantis. We're going above and beyond that. And that is what they call the Atlantis reversal, because it's a reversal of everything that happened at Atlantis. And that brings in the aspect of the great awakening of humanity, because that's also tied in, and that's tied into the time period. Everything that's happening on Earth is connected.
Okay. So the Atlantis reversal is the great awakening, or is it just similar to it?
It's part of it. It's a huge part of it. It's the great awakening wouldn't be happening without the Atlantis reversal, and vice versa. That they are intertwined in a way that males need females and females need males.
Okay.
We need each other. That they need each other to coexist.
What's the difference between them? Is there a difference?
You could say that the Atlantis reversal is a kickstart for the Great Awakening. It's the ignition button.
Okay.
It's
and once
igniting.
it happens, how will life change when the Great Awakening has actually happened?
Well, that's a huge question. That's a really good question. I mean, everything is going to change on Earth. We are stepping back into Atlantis, and we're not even doing that. We are moving beyond Atlantis, and we are evolving to beings that are of a higher vibration than we were at Atlantis. So that is changing everything, and we are seeing that in different ways on Earth at the moment. There have been huge starts, huge ignitions, huge steps forward, and everything is crumbling away. The time we're in now on Earth has never happened before. We've never had it before, not in the way we are experiencing it now. So the Earth is changing.
Yes.
We are changing.
Clearly. What about, I mean, I heard that the DNA is changing from carbon-based to crystalline, and whatever that means. And what about day-to-day life? If we jump ahead 20 years, so can you say, well, things that in the third dimension or in the old world were acceptable, like competition, wars, violence, that won't be anymore. It'll be replaced with love and acceptance. And I don't know, I guess I'm giving you the answer, but I'm trying to hear it from you. But if you know what I mean, that kind of answer with specific examples.
Thanks, Michael. So what's happening is, if you imagine layers of a cake, and at the bottom is all the heavy stuff, the heavy sugar, the dark treacle, and at the top is the very lighter icing. So we are going through stages of evolution on a very physical level. So our DNA is changing. We are rising up through the layers of different frequency, different energy, different dimension. And that is a process that will take a number of years, because if we were to do it instantly, we would really cause a very physical reaction in our bodies individually, where we would frazzle and it would just blow our whole systems. We wouldn't be able to contain the higher energies in our vehicles, in our bodies. So it has to be a process of awakening, which we're in now. And it's a beautiful process to witness and to be here for, which is why we're here. Especially the ones who are speaking up, who like you and me and many, many other people who are here to assist with this process. We came here for this, literally for this time on Earth now. So it's a beautiful process, and I'd really like to go in and explain it a bit. From my understanding, what I've been shown is that we are going through a human evolution that is going from a lower consciousness of war, of negative energy, of war, of famine, of all the negative human traits, human thoughts, human abilities, human ideas, all the negative stuff. We are rising up above that, and that is going to take a number of years, but we are doing it on an individual basis. Even those of us who are awake and aware and conscious, and to some degree have some spiritual understanding and maybe a different kind of energy where we're more spiritual. Even those of us who are like that, who are that energy, are raising up. So it's just a beautiful thing. And I'm going to go more into it. So our energy is changing, our DNA is changing, our bodies are changing, our blood is changing, our DNA, our minds, our brains, our hair, our teeth. It's a physical thing. Yep. It's not woo-woo stuff. It's physical, and we're seeing that. We're seeing that with our abilities. We have more abilities. Our abilities are becoming more enlightened, more advanced, we're more able to, especially with telepathy. Telepathy is quite big at the moment, where a lot of people are finding that is occurring for them.
Yeah. What about the fifth dimension? How does that slot into everything?
You could say that's one of the layers of the cake. That's a layer of the cake. That's where we're heading.
And some people are going to stay behind, and Earth is going to split, apparently, and not everyone gets to ascend. Is that so?
Yeah, that I have been shown that. I'm so glad you asked that. Because for years I read that and heard that the Earth was going to split and divide into two. I could never understand it. Because I'm very visual. I work with visions, and within those visions, there's a lot of information. So I could never understand it. Could never get my head around it. And then I think it was last year, the Pleiadian showed me how it's going to occur, and they showed me in an image where in January last year, actually, I think I was told around then, there were two intense beams of light hitting the Earth that would, the energetic beams of light that were coming down, that looked like tubes of light to me. And they were going to hit the Earth. They were going to intensify and increase to the point where it would actually cause the Earth to twist and multiply. I keep using the word divide, but it's not divide. It's twist and multiply into two Earths. And one would raise into a higher frequency, a higher dimension, and one would stay where it is, or it would drop into a lower frequency, a lower dimension, a lower awareness, a lower energy. And that is how I understand that we have two earths.
Interesting. It's also interesting to know what if, let's say there's a family or neighbors, so one neighbor gets to ascend and the other doesn't, so what, he will just disappear one day? Or I was told it's just gonna look like something's gonna happen and the neighbor is gonna allegedly move to another town. It'll all look rational, you know, that things have happened and this guy moved and now I'm no longer talking to, I don't know, to my other friends because they moved or they got married and they have kids and I had to move. It's all going to make sense, but really that's how they're disappearing from my life, if you see what I mean. Not like they're going to just disappear out of nowhere or into nothingness.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like that. I mean, I don't know, you know, all the details and everything that's going to happen at all. But you could use the similarity between spirit and us, because spirit is all around us. I believe spirit is all around us, and yet you can't see them.
Yeah,
they're all around us.
I sure can't. You probably can, but I can't.
I do see them. I also feel them. Sometimes they touch me in a very physical way where I can actually feel like I'm being touched. And sometimes it will, if I'm doing a meditation, it will make me jump, you know, because it's like someone physically touching my hand.
Yeah.
And it's normally my hand. So it's a bit like that.
Okay.
Where, you know.
What about 2009? What happened then?
In 2009, I moved to Ireland. I moved to a place called Lewisburg in the west of Ireland, in Mayo. Mm-hmm. And it's a beautiful place, very rural, and it's on to it's a long story, but I began to channel the Pleiadians. I just left my husband, who was Tibetan, and moved to Ireland to kind of gather myself, you know, find myself again. And I'd already began to write in London, where I was writing, and it wasn't coming from me. I didn't know where it was coming from, but it was a very downtime in my life. I was very depressed in the marriage, and it would make the writing I was writing would make me feel really good. And then I left and moved to this rural, beautiful place in Ireland, and I was sent an email actually by a guy called Joshua Shapiro, who is well known now and was well known then, but I didn't know who he was, saying that we should work together. And at first I thought he was a bit crazy because I didn't know him. I didn't know him from Adam, but he sent me an email saying he thought we should work together, and he was given my name by Spirit or the Pleiadians or whoever. And I'm actually interviewing him soon. And he's based in America, but he said we should work together. And as soon as he sent me that email, I began channeling the Pleiadians. So he really opened the door for me, and in a big way. And I don't even know how he did it. Perhaps he has a connection to the Pleiadians, but that's really how it began for me. But then I also started to do shamanic courses in Ireland, and began to have memories of having connected to them as a child and in past lives. So I've come in kind of back to front, because I've done all the spiritual stuff. Well, I haven't done everything, but I've done a lot of the foundational spirit stuff. Even as a child, I was talking to my granddad and my guides, and they were singing and to me and to get me through my childhood. And so I learned a lot of the psychic and spiritual stuff as a child.
When you say your granddad, was he alive, or is it his spirit you were talking to?
He was in spirit. He died, and I was incredibly close to my granddad. Probably the only one in my family that I was so close to. I loved him dearly. He was such a beautiful man, a beautiful soul. And I didn't mourn his death at all. And I was 9 when he died, and he came back to me. I think it was a week or two later, and sat on my bed. and spoke to me, and I could see him solidly, like I can see you. He was just so clear, and I really wish I'd reached out to touch him, because I swear I would have felt skin and bone and flesh. He was solid, and he was in front of me.
Wow.
And I was 9 years old, and he was talking to me, and he was giving me information for my mum. And I told her the next day, and it was things like, you have a doctor's appointment on the Wednesday, you're signing the divorce papers on the Friday, you have this condition, you have this happening, you have that happening, and the days and times.
But you were
and
9.
Her blood. Yeah.
So what divorce papers?
She was going through a divorce at the time.
I see. I see. He was giving you the information about your mum. Okay. Right. So that so in 2009 you started channeling the Pleiadians because of the message that you got from that Shapiro guy. And I'm wondering, when you say you started channeling, what does that mean? Do you channel for people one-on-one? You have like sessions where people come to you and you channel for them? Or is it stuff you write in books, or what?
Well, I've changed and adapted, and sometimes I do it in certain ways over the years. But when I started to do it, because I've been working with mediumship since I was a child, I see spirit, and I see them. I don't see them physically these days like I did when I was a child. I see them in my mind's eye. And so he sent me the email, and I could see them behind me, slightly off in my center, but off to my left. And so they came through, and I was actually talking to him when they came through. And I closed my eyes, and I began typing. And it was like taking dictation. And it was for me at the time, it was very much like I was working with spirits. In the same way, it was very easy for me to do that, because I've been working with spirit so long. So I just began to take dictation, and I literally typed what they said, because I can type a lot faster than I can write.
And what do you do with it? What do you do with the stuff you type?
Well, I put it out there as much as I can. I've written my book, which is where that time period where the information is in.
Okay, so you're basically a channeler that channels books. You write books based on the channeling, or the books are being channeled through you, but you don't do one-on-one sessions with people where you talk to them about relevant stuff to their lives. You do?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I was last year I was given some upgrades and a lot of downloads, but definitely some upgrades. And it was during one of the live interviews I was doing with a lady in Australia, where normally the Pleiadians are next to me, and I close my eyes and channel them. But in this interview, they told me to close my eyes, so I did. And then they actually stepped into me and used my voice, which is called direct voice channeling. So that was an upgrade I had, which I'm just hugely grateful to them that I'm able to do that. And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about, upgrades where we are advancing. I'm sure that there is other channelers out there, and other psychics and mediums and other people, healers, who are also advancing and finding they have, they're advancing and having abilities that they didn't have before.
Yes.
And that's one of the ways I've advanced, is where I'm now able to channel for individual people during the readings, because I've been doing readings for a long time.
So what do you mean by readings? Like tarot cards, or what's that, like astrology?
I don't do tarot. I don't do tarot. I don't do astrology or numerology. What I do is psychic readings and mediumship, Pleiadian channeling, direct voice channeling. I'm all about positivity and helping to raise people's vibration, especially if they've had a traumatic childhood, or if they've had trauma, and it doesn't even have to be, abuse or severe abuse. It could be little things or other things rather, I should say.
So who comes to you? Like I could book a session with you, or we agree a time and a date, and then I connect on Zoom, and I just sit there, and you say, okay, let me connect. Michael, this is a message for you. And then you start talking, and they start talking to me and give me advice.
Exactly. That's exactly how it works these days.
So can you just give us an example of somebody like one of your latest clients? You say, well, 2 weeks ago, without mentioning name, a lady came to me. She was like 55 years old, and she sat down, and the Pleiadians told her, blah, 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 that she's going to win the lottery and that she's going to marry a month later, or I don't know what, or she's going to get pregnant.
Well, they don't ever tell me that anyone's going to win the lottery. Because that is one in.
Yeah, but that was. I didn't mean that. Billion. I was just saying. You don't forget what I said. Say what actually did happen, not what didn't happen. What did they say?
Okay, so with the when I do the Pleiadian channeling for people, the person is normally of awake, aware, and conscious anyway. You know, with spirit and healing and other awareness, so they're normally on a high vibe people.
Yep.
So in that type of situation, they will come through and they will give advice for the person on a soul level. It's very much to do with Akashic records and how the person can navigate problems they have in their life, whether it's with money or relationships or partners or work, or how they can move forward, how they can clear up the lower vibrations, how they can ascend, not ascend, but how they can move forward in their life.
Amazing.
How they can raise their frequency, raise their energy, and move forward. Because that's what it's all about. It's all about us moving forward, stepping into a love. One of the things they say very often is that we need to, and myself included, I don't exclude myself from any of this information, but one of the things they say to me very often is that we need to step into our heart space, our heart center, and raise our frequency, raise our energy, raise our vibration, and go out into the world and share that.
Yep.
And we often fall off that. We often, through the world we're living in, because we are going from dark to light, literally. We're going from a lower vibration to a higher vibration.
Did they ever give advice how one can raise one's vibration?
Through sound, through music, through healing, but particularly through sound and music.
Or just listen to music? Just put something on YouTube and listen to it? Yeah.
Music of a high frequency, of a high vibration, or toning, or even singing will lift your vibration. Sound has huge. There's so much we don't know about sound. So much we don't know about sound, and that actually was how the universe was created, through sound.
Yes, I heard that before.
Through sound.
Many times. So back to the shamanic experience. Shamanic courses which you took. You remembered something during the shamanic course. What was that, which you remembered?
Yeah, I think we touched on it earlier. I was doing. No, it's okay. I was doing ayahuasca in Galway. I think it was Galway. Yeah, it was Galway.
I've been there a few times in Galway.
Have you?
Yeah, in a place called Tuam. You know Tuam?
Yes.
So I know Tuam.
I lived in Tuam for a while.
That's the fastest place in Ireland.
Yeah. It's even faster than Zoom.
Yes, and I wasn't drinking. Well, I still don't drink, but I stopped drinking alcohol just before I went to Ireland, and I was there 5 times, and I went to Irish pubs, and I never, ever, ever tasted Irish Guinness.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you're not missing much.
Yeah, I hope so. In Galway.
Sorry, Michael. Yeah. I have to say something about Tuam, because I lived in Tuam. Tuam has got a very, very heavy, or did have, when I lived there, very dark, heavy energy, negative energy. There were huge battles there. Tuam is actually the place that they found the babies. I don't know if you've heard about that. They found it was an international story in the media where they found these dead babies, and there were hundreds of them. There were hundreds of dead babies which went international in the media, and that was to do with the nuns and the church and the Catholic Church, where there was just hundreds of dead babies found. So Tuam is not one of the nicest places in Ireland to visit.
No, it's not at all nice. I just drove through it a few times to where I was staying in the middle of nowhere, like a small place with like 5 houses, in the middle of nowhere with cows. It It was amazing. Yeah. So why are we talking about Tomb? Because something happened with a shamanic experience where you remembered something, or maybe we could move on to what you were shown by the Pleiadians about yourself and your life purpose.
Okay, there's great questions, Michael. Thank you. So during the shamanic courses and the shamanic journeying and the ayahuasca and the vision quests, because it was over like 3 or 4 years, I had a lot of information given to me by them, and one of them was that I was shown this. I think it was during a vision. No, it was during what do you call them? Shamanic journeying, where you go to find information. And I was taken out of my body and I was shown the universe and where I came from. I was shown why I was here. I was shown some of my past lives, that I'm from the Pleiades. I was shown my mission. I was shown my purpose. I was shown why I'm here, which I always thought was and that's very much to do with the spiritual work and helping to raise the consciousness of humanity. But I always thought that my purpose and my mission was going to be over my lifetime. It was only in January last year, that the light bulb went off for me, where I realized it's this time now. It's not just my lifetime. It's this time. This is why we're here, for this great awakening of humanity, and everything ties in. You know, all aspects. What's your purpose again?
What's your purpose?
My main purpose is to help raise the consciousness of humanity. And that starts with the neighbor down the road.
I see.
Or my sister or my brother. It starts individually.
Okay. How can you help other people raise their frequency?
I teach. I do talks. I do courses. I do workshops. I do readings. So that's how I help to...
That's enough, I guess.
Okay.
No. I'm saying that's enough, as in... You must be joking. I apologize if I came across as saying to you that's enough.
No, it's okay.
I meant... readings, and it's just readings is enough to raise somebody's frequencies. But if you also do courses and you teach and all that, that's like more than enough, if you see what I mean. So what else do you do to raise the frequencies of other people?
Well, I write. I do books. I've done 2 books now. I'm planning a 3rd one, and I'm planning on more teaching, on teaching and reaching more people through Zoom, and just reaching as many people as I can. People who are down, people who are depressed, people who are suicidal, people who've had trauma. I mean, I really had extreme trauma, and I've come through it. And you know, that to me, that's everything. You know, if you can help to stop someone committing suicide, help them to come through trauma, help them to leave a relationship that is abusive physically, or however abusive it is, in any way, just help them to get through life and to understand and to come away from the narrative that we are this little powerless being that has the government controls, or the big pharma controls, or our boss controls, or our teacher, or whoever. And to realize that, and to help them to awaken, to realize that they are so much more than we've been shown and taught and dumbed down and told to believe who we are.
Yeah.
We are never that little powerless being. We have an immense amount of power. We are able to do things, all of us, like channel the Pleiadians, like heal ourselves, like take control of our own lives. We are infinite beings with an abundance of powerful abilities, like healing and channeling and numerous other things I could mention.
Yes. So when you were a child, why and how did the Pleiadians stop you from going to school?
Oh.
And there was another incident where you couldn't move. So let's talk about school
thanks,
first.
Michael. Okay. That kind of ties in of where several times in my life, I've been held in this vortex of energy where I haven't been able to move, couldn't move my body. And one of them was when I was at school. Well, I was 12 and I was on my way to school. I was actually at the school gates. And these were huge school gates. They were wrought iron, and they were about 20, 30 feet across and 20, 30 feet high, 20 to 30 feet high. So I was stood there for about 20, 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, and I just couldn't move. And I was looking at these gates. And this is one of the memories I'd forgotten that I remembered in the shamanic training, where I remembered being at school gates and looking up at them, but I'd forgotten that the Pleiadians had connected with me and were giving me downloads of information and a message from myself. But and basically what they told me is they put the wall of energy in front of me, where I wasn't able to move, because if I'd entered the school system, I would have been lost to them. And that was a very powerful, simple message for me, that I really understood that the school system is very much part of the negative agenda.
So what, you stopped going to school from that day?
Yeah, I couldn't go. I tried. I mean, I would bathe. I would, do my hair, get up, bathe, do my uniform, do my makeup, because I was wearing a little bit of makeup then, and take the hour journey, because it was 2 buses. It was half an hour on each bus. And I would do that. I would get my bus fare if my mum had left it, and because she often didn't. But and then I would make the journey, and I just wasn't able to enter the school system. And I tried. I really tried.
No need to apologize. I think it's a waste of time. 12 years of throwing them down the toilet would be more useful than going to school. So what did your mother say? What did you tell your mother? Yeah.
Well, one thing I would like to add. My mum, she was an alcoholic. She was out working or drinking. She wasn't a normal mum. I was left to my own devices from a very young age, where I remember trying to iron a dress when I was 8 or 9, and ended up burning it because I didn't know how to iron. And so I basically brought myself up. And, I didn't have that parenting.
So you just said to her, Mum, I'm not going to school, and she just didn't care. Go, don't go, who cares? That was her attitude? She wasn't able to look after herself, let alone a child. What about the welfare? Weren't you contacted by the council, and didn't they take you away because your mum was unfit and stuff like that?
Well, I think part of my thought was I wanted them to take me away. I didn't want to be at home. I didn't want to be with my mum. I didn't want to be there because it was horrendous. And I never told anyone about the abuse, because that's something that I guess it's part of the trauma where you just don't tell anyone. So I had an out-of-body experience when I was 12 where Jesus came to me.
Yep.
And stopped me from committing suicide. And I'm not really going to go into that now because I don't think we've got time. But after that experience when I was 12 and I really was going to commit suicide, I was done. I wanted out.
You can't start telling us about wanting to commit suicide and being saved by Jesus and say we don't have time to talk about it. We have time to talk about it. Please do.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. So I'd had a lot of abuse as a child, which was unusual. And I believe that it happens that way for me because I need to, on a soul level, I need to do things to the extreme. Otherwise, I don't get it. I can't do things in a little way. I need to do them, really do them, 100%. So I was abused on a mass scale by several different men, and I got to the point, and then I had an alcoholic mother and poverty and all kinds of things chucked at me, which I chose. I chose that. I chose my parents. I chose the abuse on a higher level, on a soul level. I chose that because that's what I needed to learn to bring me to the spiritual stuff. So I don't regret it at all. I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't.
So what did Jesus say?
Well, I left my body and met up with him and went on for a very long journey for about 3 or 4 hours. I was gone. I was out of my body. And he showed me my purpose, why I was here, and why I was experiencing the things I was. And then when he understood I got that, he showed me the bigger picture for humanity. When I came back from that experience, when I left, I was distraught and I was on the verge of committing suicide. I was done. And it wasn't a cry for help or anything like that. I didn't tell anyone. I'd gone into my room, closed the door, and just was leaving, was done. And then I had that experience that really took me into a very different state of blissfulness, total bliss for about 3 or 4 weeks. And then it gradually ebbed away. And after that experience, I began to meditate at home. And it was around then that I stopped going to secondary school, because I went to my primary school. And then around that age, when I had the experience, I was 12, I began secondary school. I didn't go because I was having those experiences of, I couldn't enter. I just couldn't enter. So I would meditate at home. I didn't know that's what it was called. And I had this mattress on the floor, and I would sit on my mattress cross-legged and just meditate. And I began to read books. I read every book in that library in Hackney on esoteric. And I remember Doris Stokes was one of the books I read, and Edgar Casey. I was reading Edgar Casey, and I would just read and read and read. I read all the books in that library, and all the esoteric ones anyway, because I was never interested in romance or novels or anything like that. I wanted knowledge, so I soaked it up and read. And
so from the age of 12, you stopped going to school and just went to the library and read esoteric stuff?
Yeah, and I wouldn't read it in the library. I would read it in my room. I would just go to my room and close the door and be in my own space. That was my sanctuary. That's where I was safe.
So while other kids were going to school and wasting 8 hours a day on rubbish, you were sitting at home in your room reading interesting books your whole childhood.
Yeah, but it's more than that, Michael, because, I mean, do you know, I loved that about my childhood. I really did, that I got to do that. I was never conditioned in the same way. You know, I don't have the same outlook. And I think that's why they kept me out of the school system, the Pleiadians. But I didn't know it was them. I was channeling or being given downloads at the time. But from the age of 12, you know, until I left home and even beyond that, they gave me downloads of information. And I didn't know it was them. I just thought it was my guides, you know. I remember I didn't know, you know, about the Pleiadians at the time. It was my guides I was talking to.
Yes.
And
you make it sound like talking to your guides is something everybody does. You know, it's like common knowledge to talk to your guides. I don't talk to my guides. I wish I could talk to my guides. I need someone else to talk to my guides for me and to convey the message. And you just talk to your guides, and then you start talking to the Pleiadians, and you make it sound so easy. Lucky you. What can I say?
It's the trauma, because it's the trauma that did that for me. The trauma will cause you to leave your body, or can cause you to leave your body. And because it's so traumatic, it shocks the body out.
Many people experienced trauma and didn't communicate with the Pleiadians. I think most people who experience trauma still can't communicate with the Pleiadians. Why you? Well, didn't they tell you why you were chosen?
I wouldn't say I was chosen, because I kind of don't like that language, but I understand what you mean, and I believe it's because I chose it. I chose it on a soul level to come here to be part of this time. I mean, there's a lot of aspects to the soul, to anyone's soul, where we've had numerous lifetimes in numerous places around the universe, on numerous planets, star systems, and other places. And part of my soul's journey to ascend on the soul level was to go through the trauma that would bring me out the other side, that would give me the ability to channel the Pleiadians.
Yeah.
And for me, that's very easy to do. What I find difficult in life is to be here, is to be grounded, is to live in the physical. I'm still learning to do that. And I find that very difficult. So that's what I mean when I say I came in back to front. I came in with the spiritual stuff. I came in awake, aware, and conscious.
Yeah.
I don't yet know fully how to do the physical stuff. I'm still learning.
What you mean, like going to work and paying your bills and driving a car and doing your account, your tax returns, these kind of things?
Sometimes, but mostly, really what I mean mostly is how to deal with people on a lower vibration, a lower frequency. I don't understand how people are so asleep. I don't understand how people cannot see what's in front of them, cannot see that the stupidity of wearing a mask, or the stupidity of putting something into your body that you don't know what's going to do to you. I don't know how people can look outside of themselves and trust the government. I don't know how people can trust doctors or lawyers or politicians or I don't know how people do that. And
you just said that you wanted to learn how to be able to do that?
Not to do that, but
that's
how
insane.
to be more...
Why would you want to learn how to be insane?
Well, no, to be more grounded, I think. I've spent my childhood outside of myself, outside of my body, talking to higher beings like the Pleiadians. I find it sometimes very difficult to be grounded and to be physical and to be present.
Yeah, I've heard people who said that to me as well. People who can channel, close people that said, "Yeah, I have a problem grounding, and I can kind of fly, in outer space or wherever, and just stay there for hours. But I need to be more grounded, and I need to be more grounded." I am the exact opposite, so I just don't understand what they're talking about. It's just no idea what you guys are talking about. To me, it seems like you are the lucky ones, and you get to fly out into space and into different dimensions and different realms and meet all these amazing Pleiadians and spirits, and we are stuck here. The most I could do is read my WhatsApp messages and watch TV. Lucky you. But anyway, I'm not complaining. I'm wondering, I know that it's not a common thing for a channeler to just be able to channel like that off the cuff without warning and proper preparation. However, I'm wondering, maybe you can demonstrate something?
I can never promise anything, even during the readings, but I will do my best.
Please.
So we are in a time period now where we are moving forward at a rapid pace, and everything we have known is falling away, is crumbling away, is burning away, we are leaving it behind. We are walking forwards into a new dawn, into a new time, into a new era. We are on the precipice of a huge shift on your planet that has far-reaching effects. It is not limited to the Earth. It affects the whole universe. And the universe is constantly expanding and growing, which is one of the reasons why you will never find the end of it. Because as you're looking for it, it expands. Your thoughts are creative. So when you are looking for something within the universe, it will expand. That it can also be said for health. When you are looking for something or checking something out within your health, not always, but sometimes you will find it, because if you are looking for something, you will find it. The earth is shifting. As Soma has said, as Carol has said, the earth is shifting back onto her natural axis, and your blueprint, your DNA, there will be revelations. Your blueprint is changing. there will be revelations that will come to you, your humanity, over the next 20, 30, 40 years, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, where it will become very evident to you en masse that you are being lied to on a mass scale. And this will eventually come to you in your media, in your main media. They will no longer be able to hide it from you, because it will be so relevant, it will be so obvious, it will be so well known within you, amongst certain people, that it will become to the forefront. It will become mainstream media, where you will know that you are not alone. You will know that your DNA was orchestrated or originated from elsewhere, that you do not come from apes. You are created in our likeness and other likenesses. So we created you in our likeness. We are not the only ones who have done this. And there were times we worked with other beings, sometimes not always with their best interests, or they didn't always have their best interests at heart. There have been several stops and starts within humanity. There have been several changes within your DNA, where you have been upgraded and downgraded and upgraded and downgraded. And your science is now proving through beings like Greg Braden that your DNA was orchestrated, or was manipulated, or was, they are probably the wrong words to use, but was made. It was made. We have many things we can share with you. We have many things that we wish you to know and understand. We have many things that we want to share with you that are hidden from you. Very basic things like plants and nature and healing abilities of those herbs and flowers and plants and trees, but also color and sound. You are not alone. You have never, ever been alone. Your frequency is changing. You are evolving. You are adapting. This is evolution of a like that has never occurred on Earth before. Not in this way. Not in this way. Not with the technology that you have available to you. There is a dark agenda at play on Earth at the moment, which many of you are aware. And many of you are unable to see it, to face it, which is why you are hiding from it and saying or believing that there is a dark agenda. Because if you were to turn and face it, that would cause you to frazzle, and maybe not frazzle, but that would cause you it would cause a slight shock or tremor in your system, because it would be similar to the rug being dragged from beneath your feet, so to speak, where it would cause you a great awakening within your system, within yourself, where you suddenly see the light where before there was dark. And that, we hope, will happen for some people gradually. For some people, they are able to withhold a lot of light in their body, or a lot of intense energy, where they are able to to do it very quickly and to do it instantly. But for the majority of you on Earth, you need to do it in a process, which is part of what the process is at the moment, which is the Great Awakening. Some of you need to go at a snail pace. Some of you are zooming along. But the majority of people need to go at a snail pace because they are not able to look at the dark agendas upon your Earth, because it would cause them to frazzle. It would cause them to dismantle, perhaps is a better word. But you are not alone. You have never been alone. And as you move up the frequency scale of dimensions or frequency or awareness, or the layers of the cake, as you move up that spiral of energy, more and more you are helping more and more to bring others into that higher light, that higher frequency, that space of love. This is part of evolution. This is a beautiful, amazing, it is so beautiful. There are not the human words to describe the beauty of what we are witnessing. We are above your Earth. We have many ships above your Earth. And you do have help. We are assisting you. We cannot do it for you. We are you in the future. And mistakes have been made by all parties, both positive and negative. If we could do things differently, we probably would. There were many beings that we created upon your Earth. There are many documents of these beings. We are talking more of the early animals, let us say, the early animals where there are pictures of a half man and half donkey, or we are using that as an example. Those animals existed. They are in picture proof because they existed. They are not random imagination of prehistoric cave drawings. They existed, as did giants and many other beings that were created. Some of them worked and some of them didn't. As we keep saying, there is much that is hidden from you, and giants are one of them. There has been a great galactic war for many years, and it is predominantly about ownership of the Earth. Contracts have been made in the past, and these contracts are now coming to an end, or have come to an end. These were written contracts where negative agendas took ownership of the Earth, or forced ownership, or were given ownership of the Earth for a certain period of time. And these physical contracts are now coming to an end, or have come to an end. The negative agenda are in a state of war where they are in denial of these contracts and are not willing, are not wanting to give up their contract to a lighter energy. But the contract is changing from dark to light. These are physical contracts where the negative agenda was given, or won, or forced, or however it occurred to be. They were given contracts of having ownership of the Earth and humans and humanity for a time period, and that has now ended. The war has been about ownership of the Earth. There are many planets that are inhabited by beings, some physical and some non-physical. humans have been created not only on Earth, but in other planets as well. You are not alone. You have many brothers and sisters, and we see you as children. We are your parents, and we love you. This is a feeling that often overwhelms Soma, because she can feel it. She can feel our frequency. She can feel our love. And at times it is overwhelming, and it brings tears to her eyes, tears of joy, and it makes her overwhelmed. This contract has come to an end. The negative forces are fighting for their lives, as are the positive forces that are fighting. There has been a battle between light and dark for many, many eons of time since the downfall of Atlantis. And even before then, there have been many cycles, many time periods, many planets. Some planets are no longer inhabitable, whereas they once were inhabitable, and now they are not. Your Earth, and this may be news to some, but your Earth was created for you. Your Earth was created for you. Many science will tell you that the Earth was created first, which it was. But the Earth was created to be habitable for you. The water, the trees, the air. The Earth was manipulated and advanced or created for you in a way that would sustain you, which is news to some. And Carol finds this, Soma finds this. We often use the word Carol or Soma interchangeably, but she finds this such a beautiful thing, to know that we help to manifest the Earth. Manifest is the wrong word, but we help to adapt the Earth is a better word. We help to adapt the Earth to sustain you, sustain humanity, so that it was a Garden of Eden was created for you. The Earth is a beautiful place, and she is alive with energy. The trees have soul, have energy. They are alive, their root system. Did you know that the trees with their root system is contained under the earth? To every single tree upon the earth is connected to the other, like you are. You are brothers and sisters, and you are all connected. Whether you are white or black or young or old. Part of the negative agenda is to divide and conquer, and to make you believe that you are separate from each other, separate from God, separate from Source, separate from us. And that is the great illusion, the great lie. There are many aspects at play here, many aspects, and they are all connected. Much like you are all connected, much like the trees are all connected, and the birds. If you ever watch the birds in nature, it is such a beautiful thing to behold when you watch them fly, because they fly as one. And that is where your humanity is heading. That is where your humanity is going, into one unity consciousness. And beyond that, because unity consciousness is not contained to humanity. We are you. You are us. And you have been lied to on such a mass scale that is We sometimes use a word, a couple of times we have used the word with Carol or Soma. It is ridiculous the way you have been played. They ridicule us. Ridiculous and ridicule us. Your language was once a great language, which actually formed from sound. Sound came first, and then language was born. And then language was divided and separated by the negative agenda, who also divided and separated your land and created things like passports, which is also part of how they work, of how the negative agenda works. The end of the contract is here. This is the Great Awakening. You are going back to the time of Atlantis, and yet you are not doing that even. You are going beyond who you were at Atlantis. We love you very much. We have much more that we could share with you. So much more. Do not believe your governments. They are part of the negative agenda. They do not have your best interests at heart. How could they? They are part of the negative agenda. They are fighting for their own lives, as we are. This is a war. This is a spiritual war between light and darkness. And the light and darkness that we always speak of it's not human. It is positive ET energy and negative ET energy fighting a very long war about ownership of the earth. And as we were saying just now, it is not even about ownership of the earth. It is about the universe. Because once ownership of the earth is reclaimed by positive, loving beings, and once your ascension is already underway, you are already in evolution. There is no stopping this. There is no stopping evolution. That is what you are witnessing on a very physical level in your world. You are witnessing the negative agenda fighting for their lives, trying to stop the end of this contract. But they cannot stop it. You cannot stop the force of creation, of God, of source energy, of consciousness, of evolution. This is unstoppable. This force of love, of consciousness, it is unstoppable. But they are very much trying to stop the wheels of consciousness from advancing forwards. We wish to communicate with you again and again and again and again, for this is evolution, this is ongoing process that some of you, not all of you, but some of you need to do over a process of time, over a period of time. There is a great reset. Many words have been hijacked by the negative agendas, including the Great Reset. Because we would say that the Great Reset is the Great Awakening, but the words have been hijacked by the negative agenda and misused for their own negative agendas. We will stop there because we could talk for hours and days and weeks and months. And we talk through so many. And some of you are listening. Some of you have accepted that you are channeling us or other beings. And for many of you, that has been a process that has taken you a number of years to accept within yourself. Carol did not wake up, or Soma did not wake up one day and suddenly announce to the world that she is challenging the Pleiadians. That does not happen. That is ego. It took her a good 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years to adjust to the higher frequencies. Embrace your lioness. Embrace your lion energy. Embrace love energy into your heart. Know, learn, understand, accept that you are far greater than you are being shown. School is part of a negative agenda system designed to keep you controlled, conditioned, dumbed down, to think in a very limited way, to keep you conditioned, to keep you as slaves, for want of a better word. And we really could go on and on and on, but we are delighted to be here. We love you so much. And we very much look forward to talking to you, those listening now and in the future, but also to you, Michael.
Thank you. I'll be waiting. Wow, Soma! That was amazing! I thought you weren't sure if you could channel or not. That was amazing. No?
Thank you.
It was quite a long channeling.
Yeah, what I mean when I find it difficult to ground is that I'm so often in that space in the world. I find it difficult to, and maybe I should just stop trying, but I find it difficult to be in the world, to lower my frequency, to lower my energy, to be in the world.
Don't lower your energy and don't lower your frequency. Just enjoy it, for God's sake. Amazing. So, do you remember any of this? Where were you just now? Were you here? Were you there?
I was kind of in between. I stepped back. Mm-hmm. I step back and allow them to come forward, and I get out of the way. It's very much like working with spirit, only it's a higher spirit, for want of a better word. It's a higher frequency than spirit. But I just step out of the way and allow them to come through in the same way I would spirit. Yeah, but so I remember bits of it. I never remember all of what they've said because I wouldn't be able to.
I like the end part where they said they're going to talk to me one day.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Amazing.
I remember that.
Yeah. Well, who knows? I might finally meet the Pleiadians. I love them. I think they're doing an amazing job. And as I said, I've spoken to them via other people, and I can't wait to talk to them directly. Maybe I'm afraid. Who knows? So, Soma, we've covered everything in great depth. We've gone on for like 1 hour and 24 minutes. And is there anything you want to say to wrap it up, like a message from your heart and soul to humanity?
Yeah, there is something. And they say it to me over and over again. They'll never tire of saying it, but it's just to raise our frequency, raise our energy, raise our vibration, raise our healing ability, raise our meditation, raise everything. Step into our hearts and be that. Do you know love is a frequency that can be measured? It's the frequency that can be measured. Love is a frequency that can be measured. So if it can be measured, It can be created. It is something that we can step into. We can create it through listening to music, to walking in nature, to being in a beautiful place, whether it's in nature or if it's with our loved ones in a city, or if it's with our families or our children. We can create love. We can create the feeling of love. It's not something outside of ourselves. It's something we can create and expand on and expand on and expand on, increasing it and intensifying it. And that is part of the ascension process. That is how we navigate these times we're in. It's not through war. It's not through fear. It's not through wearing a mask. It's not going to save us from anything outside of ourselves. It's through frequency. It's through love. It's through vibration. It's through awareness. It's through consciousness. That is how we were created. We created ourselves. We are Pleiadian. We are Syrians. We are all of it. We are stardust. We are amazing beings. And we've been dumbed down. Our DNA has been altered and manipulated so much that we no longer are able to think for ourselves, or the vast majority of us. The vast majority of normal people are not able to look after their own health or think for themselves. They turn to the governments or big pharma. We need to come away from looking for anything outside of ourselves, anything, including the Pleiadians. We need to go within and take back our own control. We are infinite beings of love, of light. We are God's source. We are Pleiadians. We are Syrians. We are all of it. We need to expand our minds, expand our awareness, and step out of the matrix, step out of the BS that we've been taught in the school systems, from the media, from the newspapers, from the radio, from our governments, from anything outside of ourselves. I think that's really what my childhood taught me when I was alone in my room meditating and reading, was that there was nothing outside of me. It was all in me. And I just needed to tap into it. I just needed to access it, to walk through that door or push that button. So that's what I would have to say.
Wonderful. What a wonderful message from you to our viewers. And what a wonderful interview this was. I enjoyed every second of it. I had such a good time. You're absolutely amazing. And all I could say is thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael, very much. And the feeling's mutual.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed it.
Pleasure. So good luck with everything, and we'll be in touch. Thank you. And to our lovely guests, the Pleiadians are here, our lovely viewers. The Pleiadians are us and we are them, and they're helping us raise our frequency to the 5th dimension and bring love and happiness and create heaven on earth during our lifetime. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.